This was one of the ugliest games I've ever had to sit through. Team USA absolutely won this game. I mean, I don't think for a second any of us thought that they would lose this game. Coming in, they just got too many WNBA players on the team. But boy, oh boy, was this a tough watch.
That right there, that's the face of someone who just sat through basketball hell, and he's not exaggerating. Team USA beat Senegal 91-48, a 43-point blowout, and somehow managed to make it one of the most unwatchable games of the exhibition season. When you win by that margin and still have people questioning your coaching decisions, something's fundamentally broken. So what actually happened in this game that has everyone from analysts to casual fans asking the same question? Why is the most dynamic player in women's basketball still coming off the bench?
I mean, you let Caitlin Clark run yesterday, Kara Lawson. Today, nah. We're not letting her get up and down the court. We're not letting her do 17 points and 12 boards. Might make these other players feel bad. Woo-wee! The agenda is thick.
There it is, the Stephanie White influence. Now for context, White took over as Connecticut Sun head coach and immediately implemented a half-court slow-tempo system that turned one of the league's most exciting offenses into a grinded-out slog. Her system prioritizes control over creativity, structure over spontaneity, and in this exhibition game against Senegal, we saw that exact philosophy take over. Carol Lawson let Caitlin Clark run free the day before against Puerto Rico. Result? 17 points, 12 rebounds, and actual excitement. But today, different story entirely.
Caitlin Clark, way downtown. Let's check it out. Way downtown. Boom. Boom. With a long, long three. And you could tell Caitlin's game was discombobulated all night long. She did not look comfortable out there, and it just felt like she could never get in a rhythm in this game.
Look at those numbers. 18 minutes of playing time for the player who just led the WNBA in assists and broke the single-season three-point record. 8 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds. But here's what the stat sheet doesn't show. The constant lineup changes with no discernible pattern. The substitutions that killed any rhythm she tried to establish. The offensive sets that seemed designed to keep the ball out of her hands. Meanwhile, Paige Bucher starts the game and gets 16 points. Angel Reese gets a double-double with 10 points and 13 rebounds. Nothing against either of them, but we're watching a hierarchy that has nothing to do with current performance.
It was beautiful. This was a steal to a bucket right here. And Caitlin's going to jump that pass, steal the ball, and drive it down. Get the layup. It was nice. Nice work. I believe there was a foul on that play as well.
That three-pointer from deep, that's what happens when you actually let her play her game. But watch her body language throughout this clip. She's hesitant, constantly looking to the sideline, never quite settling into a rhythm. That's not the player we watched dominate the WNBA for an entire season. That's someone who doesn't know when she's coming out, doesn't know what her role is supposed to be, and can't build any continuity because the rotations make no sense. You can't develop chemistry when you're being yanked every 4 minutes.
So Stephanie White shakes hands and meets the UConn agenda tonight. We saw that with the starting lineup. I posted online. Boy, the agenda is thick. And I mean, that's thick with an extra TH, extra big TH. They hate Caitlin Clark. The unrivaled agenda. I mean, you can only start if you check at least one box. Woo! I mean...
And there's the agenda comment. Now, before anyone dismisses this as conspiracy theory, let's look at the actual pattern. The starting lineup for this game featured multiple players with UConn connections. Stephanie White, UConn alum. The coaching staff, heavy UConn representation. And suddenly the player who should be the face of this team based on current performance is relegated to inconsistent bench minutes. USA Basketball made a point of waiting until tip-off to announce the starting lineup for this game, right after getting destroyed on social media the previous day for starting Clark and seeing massive engagement. That's not coincidence. That's damage control gone wrong.
It didn't get any better. CDS, y'all are desperate to turn all the fans away. No one gives a crap about these players. They're boring. Bored shitless watching this game. So uninteresting unless you put CC on the court. I mean, yeah. Why do they have the old washed-up point guard in there? CC not starting is truly the dumbest shits ever. Kara Lawson is in over her head. There was just no rhyme or reason to what the decisions that were being made.
Read through those social media reactions. These aren't fringe fans or trolls. These are people who showed up to watch basketball and left bored out of their minds. No one gives a crap about these players. Might sound harsh, but it reflects a brutal reality. Casual fans tuned in for Caitlin Clark. When she's on the bench or playing in a system that neutralizes her strengths, they tune out. The comment about the men's team never benching Jordan, Kobe, or LeBron in their primes hits different because it's absolutely true. Can you imagine Team USA in 2008 bringing LeBron off the bench because some assistant coach wanted to make sure Tayshaun Prince got his minutes? It would never happen.
Angel Reese needs to give Caitlin Clark the ball in the backcourt. Yes, I noticed it. I noticed the freeze out. If Angel got the rebound, she never flipped it over to Caitlin. I was like, what are you doing? Why are you running the ball up?
That observation about Angel Reese not passing to Caitlin Clark in transition? Watch the game back and you'll see it repeatedly. Reese grabs the defensive rebound, and instead of immediately hitting Clark to push the pace, she either brings it up herself or swings it to someone else. Now, maybe that's just basketball instinct. Maybe it's the system they're running, but it creates a fascinating dynamic where the player who led the entire WNBA in assists per game isn't being utilized as the primary ball handler in transition. That's like having Steph Curry on your team and deciding to post him up instead of letting him shoot threes.
Look, it would have been, if Puerto Rico would have had one more good WNBA player on it, this game would have been a little bit more interesting. It would have been a little bit a bigger struggle. For sure. Absolutely. Guys, I don't know what to expect going forward. I don't. Is Caitlin Clark ever going to start a game? Is that going to happen? Is the UConn handshake with Stephanie White's offense gonna keep Caitlin Clark down for the rest of these games? I sure hope not. Why? I gotta sit through this shit. I mean, wow.
Here's the thing that makes this situation so absurd. They're winning these games by 40+ points, and the basketball still looks terrible. That shouldn't be possible. When you have that much of a talent advantage, the game should be entertaining even if it's not competitive. But instead, we're watching a team that looks disjointed, confused, and frankly uncomfortable with their own offensive system. The Puerto Rico game showed what happens when you let Clark facilitate and push tempo. The ball movement was crisp, players were getting easy looks, and the pace kept the defense scrambling. Against Senegal, with that half-court grind, everyone looked like they were playing in mud.
Well, turn her loose and let her run, and you come up with 17 and 12. It's just that simple. Let her facilitate the ball. She is the most dynamic playmaker in women's sports. Hey, we got Caitlin Clark. Nah. We don't want to do that. Look, I've never seen a team win by 40 and not look good. Here we are. Yet, here we are, actually. God, dog. Tell me what you think, black and white sports supporters. Oh, the Stephanie White apologists will be all up and through here. Okay. Go ahead, say you're sorry. I mean, that's fine with me. Tell me what you think. Make sure you hit subscribe. Whoa. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment.
So let's talk about what this means going forward, because Italy is next and the questions aren't going away. First, the coaching situation. Stephanie White's influence on this team's offensive philosophy is undeniable at this point. Whether she's officially calling plays or just heavily involved in the game planning, the fingerprints are all over it. And that creates a problem because her system in Connecticut was widely criticized for exactly this, slowing down talented offensive players and grinding games to a halt. The Sun went from exciting to unwatchable under her system, and now we're seeing the same thing happen with Team USA. Second, the rotation decisions. There's no basketball justification for Caitlin Clark coming off the bench at this point. None. She just finished a WNBA season where she averaged 19.2 points and 8.4 assists, broke the single-season assist record, and transformed a lottery team into a playoff contender. She's not a rookie who needs to earn her minutes. She's not coming back from injury. She's in her prime playing the best basketball of her life, and she's being treated like a situational bench player. The only explanation that makes sense is politics, relationships, or some kind of organizational agenda that has nothing to do with winning basketball games. Third, the UConn connection. Look, UConn has an incredible basketball program with a legendary history, but when you stack a coaching staff and starting lineup with players and coaches from the same program, and the one superstar who didn't go there is the one getting marginalized, people are going to notice. It's not conspiracy when the pattern is this obvious. Paige Buckers starts UConn. The offensive system that neutralizes Clark's strengths, implemented by a UConn alum. The constant lineup shuffling that prevents her from building rhythm, happening under a staff heavy with UConn connections. Fourth, the fan reaction. This is where USA Basketball needs to wake up because they're actively pushing away the audience they need. Women's basketball is having a moment right now, driven largely by Caitlin Clark's popularity and the attention she brings to the sport. When casual fans tune in to watch her and instead get 18 minutes of disjointed basketball in a 40-point blowout, they're not coming back. The social media comments aren't just criticism, they're a warning. You're losing the audience you worked so hard to build. Fifth, the comparison to the men's team. This is important because it highlights a double standard. When Team USA men's basketball assembles their roster, they start their best players, period. There's no political maneuvering, no earning your spot nonsense when you're already an established star. LeBron started, Kobe started, Durant starts, Curry starts. The best players play the most minutes in the roles that maximize their impact. With the women's team, we're watching the opposite, the most impactful player of the current generation being used as a role player, while less accomplished veterans get priority. Sixth, what this does to team chemistry. You can't build cohesion when your rotations are chaotic, and your best playmaker doesn't know when she's playing. Basketball is about rhythm and timing, especially for a point guard who needs to develop chemistry with her teammates. When Clark comes in for 4 minutes, gets pulled, comes back 6 minutes later in a completely different lineup, and then sits for another extended stretch, she can't develop that feel. Neither can her teammates. They don't know when she's going to be out there, so they can't adjust their games accordingly. Seventh, the international competition angle. Right now, USA is playing vastly inferior opponents and still looking sloppy, but the actual competition at the international level is getting better. Australia has WNBA talent. Canada has WNBA talent. Spain, France, Belgium all have players who can compete. If Team USA goes into those games with this same disjointed rotation strategy and half-court offensive system, they're going to struggle. And if they struggle because they refuse to maximize their most dynamic offensive weapon, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. Eighth, the media narrative. This story isn't going away. Every game Clark comes off the bench, every game she plays limited minutes in a system that doesn't fit her strengths. The questions get louder. USA Basketball can ignore it. They can dismiss it as noise from fans who don't understand the game. But that strategy only works until it doesn't. When mainstream media starts asking the same questions, when former players start publicly criticizing the decisions, the narrative becomes impossible to control. Ninth, what happens if they lose? Because here's the thing, if Team USA goes into a real game against a real opponent and loses because they didn't have their offensive pieces in the right positions, the fallout is going to be massive. Imagine losing to Australia in a close game where Caitlin Clark played 18 minutes off the bench while the starting lineup struggled to generate offense. The criticism would be nuclear, and it would be completely justified. 10th, the bigger picture for women's basketball. This sport is at a crossroads. The WNBA just had its most watched season in decades, driven largely by the Caitlin Clark effect. Attendance is up, ratings are up, merchandise sales are up. The sport has momentum, but that momentum is fragile, and it's dependent on casual fans staying engaged. When those casual fans tune in to watch Team USA and see their favorite player marginalized in favor of a system that produces unwatchable basketball, they're not going to stick around. USA Basketball has a responsibility not just to win games, but to grow the sport. Right now, they're failing at the second part. So here's the question for the comments. Is there any basketball justification for Caitlin Clark coming off the bench at this point, or is this purely organizational politics? Because I've watched the games, I've looked at the stats, and I cannot find a single on-court reason why the WNBA's assist leader and one of its most efficient scorers should be playing 18 minutes in a blowout. Tell me what I'm missing, because from where I'm sitting, this looks like ego and agenda getting in the way of basketball sense. Drop your thoughts below, hit subscribe if you want more honest WNBA analysis, and let's see if anything changes before the Italy game. Because if it doesn't, we're going to be having this same conversation again, and the frustration is only going to get louder.